So in Iraq, there's not a lot of female doctors. There's nil to none, I would say. I never saw one. So the insurgents basically oppose like strict law where they say you can't have tomatoes next to pickles and weird stuff like this, right? And in the medical, this is where they lost the people. Was you've got a pregnant lady who needs to have a C-section or something, and the insurgents won't let her go in to see a male doctor, who's the only guy that can perform the surgery, and she dies. Well, what do you? That husband now is against the insurgency and for anybody that's going to help his sister who has the same condition see the doctor. So we worked a lot with the medical people. Economic development is really like, if you looked at the 5 Lus and we broke it back down, they're really not 5, they're 3. And the 3 are security, governance, and economics. Like, have you heard of DIME?
No.
Like U.S. foreign policy, diplomacy, intel, military, and economics. We break that down to what a rifle battalion can do. You've got, and all this stuff that I'm telling you, it's not like I came up with this. I'm just parroting stuff that like Major Quinn, Captain Mines, Colonel Turner have told me. You've got security, which encompasses indigenous force training and intelligence. Governance, which encompasses essential services, and then economic development is really the key factor in this counterinsurgency fight, because economic development is what keeps these 17 to 25-year-old males from laying the IED, from picking up a weapon. So the way we try to stimulate economic development at the company level is like, how does a rifle company do economic development? Like, what the fuck? Well, we've got these economists coming down, and we're just brainstorming. We're lucky. I think Lieutenant Mahika and Lieutenant Falk both have economics degrees. But this is like, they're talking about like the velocity of money and stuff. How does that apply to a dude in Iraq? How do you make this shit go? So we're just kind of like sitting up late at night. And what I mean late at night, like Cap Mines slept 3 hours a night the entire deployment. No joke, the guy's a machine. So we'd be up late at night with the lieutenants having these like real theoretical, how do we do economics? It's like, what's the biggest power that we have bringing the fight? Every Marine gets paid, right? You look at 29 Palms, we are 29 Palms economy. If the Marine Corps left, this town would go away. So we're like, well, let's start having the Marines spend money out in town. But then it's like, do we screw up their economy if the Marines inject it with all this money? Not really, because hopefully, so the Marines, all the Marines, we encourage them to spend money out in town. We didn't buy anything from the PX. We opened up, we call them local PXs, and so we had an Iraqi shopkeeper live on our bases and sell the Marines soda, cigarettes, movies, all this stuff. And we're injecting anywhere from $500 to $5,000 a week at every one of our bases.
We've got about 4 minutes left. Can we maybe go over a map and just orient ourselves on the overall deployment?
This is Ramadi, and this was Lima Company's AO. Basically, by the end of the deployment, Lima Company had everything north of Michigan in what we call Ramadi proper.
What was Michigan?
Route Michigan is, the Iraqis call it Shalom. It's a major east-west running highway. It'd be the equivalent of like I-10. Route Mobile is another east-to-west running highway. It's up here. They're both, well, this would be like Route 66. This would be like I-40. So Lima Company, by the end of the deployment, we had everything north of Michigan. We had 7 police stations. We had Al-War, which was the main precinct station that had all of Ramadi. And there's like some really interesting stuff with the police dynamics. We didn't get into police corruption or any of this stuff. It's basically like 19th century gangs in New York, mob type stuff. Al-War, 13-man pit team, 330 Iraqi police, 17th Street. This is where we had about 60 Marines with the company headquarters and a pit team in here. This pit team was also advised an Iraqi Army company that lived with us. This was Lieutenant Chase Reeves and Sergeant Phillips with the Alpha and Bravo. Here you had the company headquarters, Captain Mines, myself, First Sergeant Schmidt, Gunny, Hatch, and Corporal James was the pit team leader here. Jamaica, you had Sergeant Humphrey, who we frocked to Lieutenant, Lieutenant Humphrey, and Corporal Saunders. Here you had Thala, where you had Lieutenant Mahika and Corporal Ivashenko. Here you had Sharika, which was, actually Sharika was down here, that's wrong on the map. Sharika was Staff Sergeant Carlisle and Staff Sergeant Watts. Katana, you had Lieutenant Breivogel and Corporal Ingerson. And then Azazia, you had Lieutenant Falk and Sergeant Worth.
And what was the size in terms of population of one of those districts?
In the center of Ramadi, in Ramadi proper, there's anywhere from 300 to 350,000 people. In the outlying areas of Ramadi, you have, I would say, up to 500,000 people. But this is getting out in the rural areas. In each one of these districts, you had anywhere from 2 to 10,000 people based on, like, you know, how dense it was. So these lieutenants were basically mini governors for cities that had up to 10,000 people. This is a huge responsibility for, you know, a 24-year-old.
So you had 13 Marines with 100 Iraqi police and 10,000 civilians.
Correct.
Were there any major points of friction that you can also orient us on there?
There was, we tried to break down tribally. So like this tribe here was the Almani tribe, and then everything south of here is like Delamy tribe, which is like, I want to say it's a Safi. And what the problem is, you would have Marine battalions plop down a company where half of them is Almani, half of them is Abu Asef. And what you want to do is follow the cultural lines of drift, where the rifle company falls down on the same tribe, and then their interests will be aligned then.
Oh, we're gonna have to stop here and put another tape in.
Yeah, we could probably just end it here.
There's just so much. I mean, it's such a complex environment. There's so much stuff going on. You could write an entire book on the awakening, on the Iraqis standing up, on the characters Colonel Ahmed, Colonel Salam, martyrs. I don't think that's the route you guys are looking to go, but it's fascinating stuff. I mean, it's awesome. Hopefully, you know,